Hello, and welcome to my knitting podcast. I'm Josefin, or Josephine in English, and I'm a 20-year-old knitter from Sweden. This is my channel, Josefins symaskin, which is a Swedish name. It means Josephine's sewing machine, and the backstory for that is that I am not only a knitter, I'm a sewer or a sewist as well. And I've been sewing for a lot longer than I've been knitting. I've been sewing for about 5 years. And I think the reason why my channel name is Josefins symaskin is because when I was in preschool, there was a song that my teachers used to sing to me, an old Swedish song that was about a girl named Josephine, who the only thing that she owned was a sewing machine. And I just think it's kind of funny how it turns out, like then nobody knew, but at this point sewing is one of my biggest passions. And I think it's kind of funny how they would sing a song to me about that, and now it's kind of true. Like I could survive with my sewing machine and my knitting as well. That's all I need. But in this podcast, I'm not going to talk a lot about sewing. I'm mostly going to talk about knitting because I do knit a lot more frequently. Like I knit every day or every week, but sewing I do kind of in, when I have time for it, because it takes a lot longer. Like it's a lot more setting up to do and everything. But I might talk a little bit about sewing. Not today though. But I have been knitting for about a year continuously. I did knit before that, but not like every week, or I just knit some hats and stuff before that. So yeah, I've been knitting for about a year. And I love it so much. I talk about knitting all the time to everyone, and so I thought, why not try and start a podcast and talk about knitting in the podcast. I'm so sorry if you can hear the chair. The sounds of the chair. I hope that's not, oh my gosh, I hope that's not very annoying. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some recent finished objects today and some whips that I have. I'm going to start by talking about what I'm wearing, and this is one of my favorite pieces that I've made. It was the second cardigan that I made, and I finished it in June, and I've been wearing it so much since. I did get like a stain on it, so I hope I can get that off. But yeah, this is the Whitmore cardigan by Amy Loudon. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hope that was right. And I knit this in, I have written it all down because I can't remember everything. I knit this in Drops Baby Merino in the color 01, held together with Drops Kid Silk in 01. And it creates this beautiful kind of off-white color. And this is a lace cardigan that is worked top down. And what I like about this is that you also work the button band at the same time, so you don't have to like pick up all these stitches afterwards and knit the button band. And I think that was a very nice detail because it makes it a lot, not as much work to do when you're done. You're kind of like done when you're finished with the body and the sleeves. You don't have to do a lot of extra work. And I really like that. And this is knit on 4mm needles, so US 6 needles. And the button band is knit on, but you use DPNs for the button band and you knit it at the same time, like I said, on 2.75 millimeters. So that's US 2. And I think I used 7 balls of this, or I didn't use all of the balls. I used a little bit of the first, a little bit less than half of the last ball of the baby merino. And the kid silk, I used 4 and a little bit more, so I had to buy 5 skeins. This is a really good piece because I can both like use it and dress it down, but maybe with like maybe a pair of jeans like I'm wearing now. But I can also dress it up and wear it with a skirt for like a nice dinner. And I just love pieces like that because it's like you can use them for so many occasions. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing, and yeah, that's the Whitmore cardigan. So next, I'm gonna talk about my recent finished objects, and I'm gonna talk about my. I'm gonna start by talking about I'm gonna talk about a project that I finished yesterday. No, 2 days ago. Or it finished blocking yesterday. And I love this piece so much. This is the Lace pullover by Ozetta. And here you can see it. Oh, maybe that's not, there you go. So this is the Lace pullover by Ozetta. And this is such an amazing piece. I have not been able to wear it out yet, but I'm so excited to finally, like, hopefully tomorrow I get to wear it out and, like, actually wear it out in the world because I love this piece so much. So let me see. Yeah, so this is the Lace pullover by Ozetta, and it's knit on 5mm needles. Or normally it's knit on 5mm, but I can talk about the yarn first actually, because I use this yarn. This is Svensk ull by Järbogarn, and this is a Swedish yarn, and Svensk ull means Swedish wool. So this is 100% pure Swedish wool, which I think is very cool. I don't know why, I just think it's kind of cool to use like wool from local wool and like from local sheep. I think that's the kind of cool thing to do, and to like know that this is something that is very local to me. And yeah, this comes in 100-gram skeins, which is 180 meters. And I used maybe about 6, a little bit, like not 6 whole skeins, 5.5 maybe. And as you can see, I bought 7 because I always buy too much because I don't want to play yarn chicken. I hate that. So I always buy too much, and we'll see what I do with this. I have no plans for it yet, but we'll see. But yeah, so this, the yarn is not the recommended yarn. The recommended yarn is worsted weight. And the thing is, I actually didn't quite meet gauge with this. I could meet gauge, but it would be very like holey and not very, I wanted like a nice and thick sweater, and like not very, you can't really see through it, but it would be kind of see-through and holey if I used 5mm. So what I did was I used 4.5mm needles. Let's see if I wrote down what that is. That's US 8, or I'm not sure if that's US 8. Well, it might be US 8 or it's US 7. And I did knit a gauge swatch on 5mm, but like I said, it was very holey. So what I did was I used a gauge calculator, which I do pretty often because I I usually buy yarn for a project and then I don't really want to change the yarn if I don't meet gauge. So I usually just use a gauge calculator to see what size I should make instead. And if it's like not a very big difference, I think for this it was a 1-stitch difference. So what I did was I calculated what size I should make instead, which was just 1 size up. So I knit this in size 3, which is medium, and I think it turned out really great. I'm gonna put in a video of me wearing it probably, so that you can see how it fits. But I think it turned out really great. And yeah, so I think the yarn worked out. And the yarn is also, I love this yarn because it's very like rustic, and I know not all people like that, but I really like it for this type of sweater because it like, I don't know, I feel like it gives it a lot of good structure. I think this yarn is pretty similar to the Stennisgarn Peer Gynt. It's kind of rustic, but after blocking it softens up a little bit. So I don't find this super itchy. I actually do find mohair more itchy than rustic wool. Yeah, I don't think this is really that itchy. You can definitely feel it, like it's definitely rustic, and if you don't like actual like rustic wool texture, you're probably not gonna like this yarn. But if you do, I think it's a very good yarn. It's pretty affordable, and yeah, I didn't find it hard to work with. I thought it was pretty easy to work with. And I definitely recommend the yarn. And so about the construction of the sweater, this is a saddle shoulder construction, as you can see here. So what you do is you work these saddles on both sides of the sweater. So you do a saddle here and here, and what you do then is you pick up for the back and you pick up for the front and you knit it down, and then you pick up the stitches that you left from the saddle and pick up stitches for the underarm and you knit the arms. It's a pretty simple construction, but it makes the sweater look a little bit more interesting because there's something happening. It's not just plain stockinette all over. And I really like that. I think it's a really fun construction. The only thing is that there's a lot of ends to weave in after because you have to like start at a new point and then cut off the yarn, start at a new point. Yeah, so there's a lot of ends to weave in, but I think it's worth it because it's really a pretty construction. And you're gonna see later in the video that I have done, for some reason, like all the sweaters that I've chosen lately have been saddle shoulder construction. So I'm gonna talk more about that. And the only thing I did differently from the pattern is that I did twisted rib, which is not very, like, it's not a major difference. It's just, yeah, it's just twisted rib. I also did the ribbing a little bit shorter, 2 centimeters shorter for every place. And I just did, for the bottom, I just did half twisted rib. But for the sleeves, I did full twisted rib because I want to be able to like fold them up like this without having, you know, like the raw side of the twisted rib showing. Like I want twisted rib on both sides. And I actually really like the look of it with twisted rib because it like gives it a kind of interesting look. Like it's not just stockinette all the way. You see something that like catches your eye, kind of, and I really like that. So yeah, this is probably gonna become my most worn sweater. I can already feel it because this is my favorite color. I love navy so much and I wear it all the time. So this is gonna match a lot of my accessories and stuff. So yeah, that's the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. And next, I'm gonna talk about a project that I finished maybe 2 weeks ago. And this is sweater number 29 by myfavouritethingsknitwear. And this is also a saddle shoulder construction. So it's worked the same way. I think they're pretty much the same. Like you do the saddle first, 2 saddles, and then you pick up for the back side and you pick up for the front side, and you knit down and connect for the underarms, and yeah, you work the arms the same way. And the arms include a little decrease. So you decrease 2, like you decrease these 2 together to 1 braid and these together to 1 braid, or cable, sorry. Yeah, so this is a cable knit sweater. And this was my first big cable work project. I think this is my first cable, and I loved cables. Like I loved working cables. I know a lot of people think it's a lot to think about, but at least with this pattern, it was pretty easy because you just had to do all the cables at the same time. So it was a very like good introduction to cables, in my opinion. And I knit this in, let's see if I have it here. Oh, there. I knit this in BC Garn Simila Melange in the color 19. Let's see if you can see that. It's very nice, and it's like kind of marled. Is that what it's called? And I held that together with Drops Kid Silk in the color color 06. This is such a pretty color. I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's something with like fog. Oh. I think it's called something with like fog or something in the name. And yeah, I held these together and I think it creates such a beautiful color. However, I was kind of bold when I chose this color because I knew that this is not really a color that I wear very often. I usually don't like, in my opinion, I feel like this is kind of towards, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but in real life, I think it's kind of almost turquoise. I think it looks a little bit more blue in the camera. And I like the color that you see more, but in real life, it's a little bit more turquoise, which is not really my color. So I haven't worn this a lot, maybe also because it's been really hot lately. But yeah, I haven't worn it a lot, and I think maybe, I don't know, I think the color is throwing me off, but also the fit is throwing me off a little bit, because I did make a gauge swatch for this one, and I was on gauge, I think. I did meet gauge, and this is knit on, I don't know if I wrote down what it's knit on. No, I didn't. I think it's knit on either 4 or 4.5. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna write it here if I remember. But I was in between two sizes. I was in between the smallest and the second smallest size. But I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more tight-fitting because I have a lot of oversized sweaters. But I think it kind of turned out a little bit too tight. Or I don't know, it's something about the arms, because the arms are not, I think I need to re-block it, because for some reason I try to block it to go like this and be nice and like big, but it's just shrinking together, and you can see it's not very like, it doesn't even look very blocked, the arms. I try to steam block it as well. I don't think it made a big difference. I like the fit of the body, but the sleeves are kind of throwing me off. So I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can block it again, or block the arms again, and see if I like that more. Otherwise, I might give it away, or maybe wait a little bit and see if I feel like I'm missing it, or if I, want to wear it more in the winter time maybe. Because to me this is not really a fall color, this is more like a winter color. So we'll see, but I think it was a very fun project and a really good pattern. It was easy to understand. There was no like place where I was confused or anything. I think it was really well written and I understood it very well. So yeah, I think it's a really good pattern and I definitely recommend it. Alright, so those were my recently finished objects. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about my whips. Why did I forget that? I'm going to talk about my whips. So I'm going to start by talking about this one. So I have this in my little project bag. This is a project bag that I've made myself, and I've made like a matching holder for crochet hooks and little knitting accessories and stuff. And I really like it. Like, I want to make more of these because they're really not that hard, but they turn out so cute. Alright, so the project that I'm working on right now is the Elara cardigan, I think it's called, by M Knits. Let's see, I haven't gotten very far. And this is another saddle shoulder construction. So like I said, for some reason I have been drawn to saddle shoulder constructions recently. But they're very fun to make, so I'm not complaining. I think they're very fun, and it's fun to try a new construction. So this is, like, I haven't gotten far at all. But here, you can see it here maybe. I have just attached the saddles together and I've started working the short rows for the back. So I've done one side and I'm gonna do the other now. So you do the short rows one side at a time. And the yarn that I'm using is one of the recommended yarns, which is Drops brushed alpaca silk, held double. And this is the color 4. And I think it's very, very pretty. The yarn, or like the fabric. Wait, let me see if I can find my... Oh, there it is. Okay. I think that the fabric that this makes is so pretty. And I think the fabric that yarn makes is so nice. And it's really like fluffy and so soft. And it really makes like the cardigan, I feel like it's gonna be such a nice fall-y cardigan. Also because the pattern. I mean, cables, I feel like it just screams fall, and this color in combination with the cables, I think it's gonna be such a pretty cardigan. However, I don't like working with this yarn. It's so hard to see the stitches, and it's so hard to see anything that I'm doing, especially since it's two strands held together, because they split up from each other, and it's not easy to work with. But the fabric is so pretty that I feel like it's gonna be worth it. We'll see what I say when I'm finished with this project, if I ever want to work with this yarn again. But I think this is such a pretty fabric, and I'm so excited to finish it. Hopefully I'll finish it this fall. I feel like it's gonna take a little longer than I anticipated, because the cables are kind of hard. Or not hard, but it's hard in combination with this yarn. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm trying to hold on to the thought of how happy I'm gonna be when it's done. But yeah, so that's the Elara cardigan. And usually I'm a monogamous knitter, so I usually only have one project. But for this, I felt like it was I got a little bit annoyed at the Elara cardigan pattern, so I felt like I wanted to cast something new on. So yesterday I cast on the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, and I actually used the same yarn that I used for my sweater number 29. And this is how far I've come. I've just almost done like the rim of the hat. There you go. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this for myself or for a gift knit, because like I said, this isn't really my color. So I'm not sure if this is gonna be a hat for me, but I think I'm gonna make it, because this is my first time making the Oslo hat. I've had the pattern for a while, and I've wanted to make it for a long time. So I just used some stash yarn to cast it on and try it out. And thus far it's very easy, and I think it's gonna be very easy. And it's very easy thus far. I mean, I have only just knit a little too. But I don't know, I don't really have a lot to say about it yet. But my hope is that when I finish this, I'm gonna see how I like the pattern and how I like the fit. And after that, I want to knit myself probably a white hat, maybe in this color. I love this off-white color. And hopefully also I want to knit myself a pair of fingerless gloves to go with it, to have like a matching set for this winter. So I'm gonna try this pattern out, see what I think, and then we'll see. Maybe I will make a white one for myself. And talking about white, I also cast on this very, very easy project today, which is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. You can see. Yeah. So this is actually knit in the same yarn that I used for this. I usually, like I said, buy too much yarn because I am afraid of plain yarn chicken. So I do have a lot of leftover yarn, and I don't really know, I've never like done anything with it, so it's just been piling up. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try and knit some stash busting projects. So that's why I started the Oslo hat and this Sophie scarf. So the Sophie scarf is a really easy pattern. I've knitted once before, and it's just, you know, a simple scarf with, what is it called? I forgot what it's called, but like when you knit, you only knit, so it creates this knit and purl rows, kind of. And what I'm gonna do with this one is I had about 20 grams, which I think is what you need for the smallest size. But I'm just gonna knit, I weighed it before, and I'm gonna weigh it when I think I'm in the middle. And then I'm gonna knit until I have half of it left, and then I'm gonna decrease. So you increasing until I have half of the ball left, and then I'm decreasing. And that's one of the ways that she recommends that you do it. And I think that's really great because then you can really use this for stash busting. And maybe I will make even more of these. Because the thing is, like, I think, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if you hit gauge with this one. Because the scarf is still gonna be, like, you choose the length, you kind of choose the width as well. So you can kind of do this in any gauge, in my opinion. So I think I'm probably gonna try and do this with a lot of my stash that I have, because I have a lot of like half skeins left. And I think this is cute not only to just have as a scarf, but I also use this as like a headband, or as like a little, when I put my hair up, I like tie it around. And also I think it's very cute to tie around like a bag as a little accessory to add a pop of color. I actually have one of these in red, and I think it's really cute to have like maybe one little detail of like a red little scarf tied around your hair, or like around your bag, and maybe you have red nails matching, so like it's kind of fun to like match and add like a little pop of color to your outfits. So yeah, I think it's a great pattern, and I'm definitely gonna do more of these because this only took me like an hour to do. No, I mean maybe an hour total of knitting. And it's really quick and really easy, so I definitely recommend that. So those were all of my projects that I have or am working on right now, and that's all I have to talk about today. I want to make a video and talk about my knitting plans because I have so many knitting plans. So that's why I'm probably not going to talk about knitting plans today. But I really hope that you like this video and that you found it interesting to watch. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you have any tips for me because I'm still kind of new to knitting, and I appreciate tips, and I really love hearing about other people and what other people are making. So if you're working on something interesting or just anything at all, please let me know in the comments. And that was everything for me, so thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!